that's right. It's like herding cats. Yeah, forget the people that vote on this, and we'll make the decision. Let them fall. Because how much time did you guys already spend on that? Yeah, all right. Good enough for me.
Okay, so Marcia's getting ready to present the 2016 sewer budget workshop number 2. I'll hand it over to Marcia.
Okay, thank you. So welcome to Sewer Budget Workshop number 2. I've provided everybody with a package on their desk along with the pink sheet. So I will use the slideshow. You have your notes in front of you. So we can discuss. If you have any questions, just raise your hand and we'll kind of go with questions as they go, okay? Just a little bit of a sewer budget highlight. Just when I did the first sewer budget workshop on January 13th, I explained then that not all the invoices were entered or received for the 2015 year. So attached on the pink sheet, you will see the final 2015 numbers along with the projected budget figures for 2016. So back in January when I first approached Council, we had looked at about a 5% increase. But that again was before the final numbers were entered into the accounts payable system. So as it stands today, I'm proposing a 12.8% increase due to the following reasons. So on, you'll see there's a little note. Again, the revenue on the pink sheets is pretty self-explanatory. I have increased the rates by 12.8% of the actual 2015 user charges. Note number 1, you'll see one of the reasons why there was a big change from January to now was expenses. And one of those expenses was for the repair just on the back street here. Morton?
The Morton Street lift station right in front of it. We had a deficiency in the sewer, sanitary sewer. We had what's called a gusher, and it had been letting a tremendous amount of groundwater into our sanitary system. So, in essence, we were treating groundwater at the sewer plant, and I would suggest that had been leaking for a long, long time. So we've repaired it.
Yeah, so that was one of the...
Councillor McLaughlin?
I'm just, to further that up, Steve, has there been a big reduction in the effluent going to...
I haven't asked the guys.
Okay.
I can certainly find out if they've seen a decrease in the flows.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, just in quick discussions with some of the staff, there has been a noticeable decline. I didn't get specific numbers, but
Excellent.
and this is it's True Love Street, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Right in front of the LCBO, yeah. Yeah, apparently there was a significant decrease in the amount of effluent going to the sewer plant.
Excellent.
Okay, so these expenses obviously affect the budget when they're not budgeted for. So those are just kind of a highlight for council to see. And then note number 2, when I presented the budget back in January, we only had about $10,000 worth of aqua billable calls. So when the final numbers came in, that jumped to about another $8,000. So you'll see, so that kind of takes effect, a change in our rate. And then again, when I first presented to council, there was a rate user fee decreases, the aqua 2014 reconciliation that we received in the middle of May 2015, so we didn't budget for that amount. So those things do make the budget go higher, and right now, unfortunately, that is why we're looking at 12.8% increase. And for the 2015 year, we have a deficit of $26,476 in the sewer budget.
McLaughlin.
Just to go back a wee piece, Marcia.
Oh, sure.
When you were talking about the billings, there was and with discussions, am I wrong, there was an awful lot of people who had shut off or said they weren't using it?
Oh, yes, that was. That's the users.
To come further?
That's the users.
Yes.
We were just talking about the billable calls from Aqua. So that's not, actually,
So you haven't gone through that? Is that, because that's a shortfall that's on this page, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The users, if you'd like to talk about the users, yes, and I did speak to...
And maybe I'll let you go further, and if you're going to come to that point?
Yes.
Okay, well then you just go ahead.
Okay.
I'm way ahead, so I'll just back.
Okay. So here's just on page number 4 on your information package. I just gave you a little update there on the sewer reserve. And I gave you the opening balance, the ending balance of 2015, what I am presenting to council in the 2016 budget is, like I said back in January, that it would be nice to be able to pay some of the unfinanced part of the Cast in Place project, and split it over 2 years so it doesn't have such a hard effect on the user rate. So I suggested taking out $40,000 out of the reserve to pay that down, and then the other $42,000 in 2017. And with the budget that I've prepared on the pink sheet, it looks like that we could put away just a little over $1,200 in reserves this year compared to the over $70,000 that we did in 2015. So this is the projected rate for the residential, residential rate. It was, for 2015, $169.83, and in 2016, we're looking at a residential rate of $191.57, and that becomes a yearly residential rate increase of $86.96. Just to have a little bit of discussion here. So some users who've had vacant multi-units had their water shut off. Just to give you a little bit of examples here, such as like one company closed and we lost that commercial sewer revenue. Another company closed their home office and relocated. And some users had their water and sewer shut off just temporarily, and they would call the office back and we would have it put back on. One of the options that came from Councillor Jackson was to implement a flat service rate for when the service is temporarily shut off. This would ensure that the better budget forecast, since we have no control at this time for lost revenue. And this would come for people that are going away south for months at a time. They do call the office. We do shut their water off. But during budget times, we have budgeted for that full year of revenue. So we really do not have any control over situations like this. What I did a little bit of research, and some of the municipalities around not necessarily around here, but one of them I did find was Township of Durham. They have a sewer service charge that they actually do put on a bill as a flat fee. This is just something that council can think about. And this way then, we would still ensure that revenue is still being collected, and that would cover the fixed cost of maintaining the sanitary lines. Even though that somebody goes away south, say their water and sewer are still hooked up, and we're still maintaining that infrastructure. We're still paying the bills. So this would help some of that. Now, that's just a suggestion. Council would obviously have to make the final decision on the number that they would charge, but it's just out there to discuss.
Councillor McLaughlin?
Well, I have, like you say, we have to make sure that we have room for the capacity if we're running at full capacity. No matter whether there's shut off, people are away, whatever, we still have to maintain that on our structure. Our system has to be at that volume. Is that the word to use, Steve? You know, I guess what I'm saying is there's a fixed cost no matter whether the water's coming or it's not coming, because the system has to be so big and it has to be manned so much, and the infrastructure has to be there. No matter whether they use it, they don't use it, it's still a fixed cost. So I'm a firm believer that there should be a flat cost whether or not you're hooked or you're still hooked to the sewer system, am I correct? There's no, unless you want to take it and we do a dead stop, then that's a whole different ball game. But as long as you're hooked to the system, I think there should be a fee that comes there, because not only, in my mind, that ups the value of your property because you are a service lot. Okay, so whether you use it or you don't use it, that's your. But I think we need to have a decision made that there be a set cost of a certain amount that needs to be there, whether they're used or whether they're not used. That's just my thoughts.
I would suggest perhaps a percentage of the actual cost, so then we don't have to worry about changing the cost each time the rates fluctuate, that it be, a 10, 20, 25% cost. That gets billed automatically, even if they've asked for it to be shut off. That would be my suggestion. Then you don't have to worry about changing the rates every year. It would be just a percentage of the actual bill. Mayor Johnson and then Councillor McLaughlin.
Marcia, have you put any thought into that cost? What that percentage per se would be like?
Yes. What I did was I took the 20%, but only because I went by some of the ones that I had found, some of the other municipalities, and they look like they're about 19 to about 21% of their actual quarterly rate, and that's kind of what they do. So they have their, for example, sewer rate, $98, say, and then underneath it says a sewer service fee of $19. So that would be about, say, 20-some or 19%, and then it says their total sewer bill. So that those municipalities are getting revenue. Those are guaranteed revenues that are coming in, whether they leave south or whatever. So I do certainly suggest. I was going to suggest actually 20%, but that was just open for discussion. So that's what I did write down. Now also too, I went ahead and I looked at the budget.
Councillor Olmsted.
Sorry, so just to be clear, and I just want it stated, I think it is pretty clear, but this would be a percentage of the current bill. So if it's $169, 20% of that would be allocated to the fixed cost or the flat rate portion. We're not talking about adding a fee on top of, right? I just wanted to state it because there'll be all sorts of people trying to interpret this as we're adding another fee onto the current $169. So this would be whatever, $50 or $48, whatever the 20% is already built into the $169.
Correct.
Okay.
Councillor McLaughlin, did you have anything further? Sorry.
Just when you were talking, it twigged to me, that's what Ontario Hydro do. Am I not?
Basically, yeah.
they set a flat rate no matter whether you use or you don't use them. I'm pretty sure on that.
As long as you have an account open.
Yes, yes, so that if you decide, you know, you're going to, for prime example, lots of times we don't use power in the winter time on the farm, but in the summertime, we'll want that, and we'll use it, and that's when the bill will go up, but there's a set rate that you're charged at anyway, and I agree with what Councillor Olmsted says, we need to readjust our billing system so it shows the flat rate and then the other, because we don't want to increase it, we just want to make sure that there's a flat rate.
I think it might be helpful for staff anyways if you have the two rates, so that when somebody does phone, you just simply cancel the one rate until they come back from Florida or whatever, and the other rate is still there. So the actual sewer flat, there's two rates, but total would still remain the same. So 20% and 80% still is 100%. So of whatever, of the 191.57 for a quarter. So you take 20% of 191 and it's one rate, and 80% of the 191 is the second rate. So if they go to Florida, they cancel the second rate, the usage, and they keep the 20%. It's just for rate purposes on the bill, Councillor McLaughlin. It will make a lot more sense to staff, because then you're not worrying about having to change the rate and then change the rate back. It makes it difficult. Councillor McLaughlin.
There seems to be a lot of work for, say, a month or 2 months. Like, I think if you're going to go through this, there should be a certain length of time that it's involved. If you understand where I'm coming from.
I agree that, you know, a minimum time period for them to cancel their service.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Like, if you're going to do it, it should be a minimum, in my mind, at least 3 months.
I would agree. Councillor Regier?
Well, I was just going to say, I agree with that. And we're billed quarterly anyway, so I would definitely go with that 3 month. That's a good point, Councillor.
Mayor Johnson and then Councillor Olmsted.
Marcia, do we not have something similar to that now on a water shut-off program? That if you're shutting off, it's...
We just have a shut-off fee of $20.
Okay,
so somebody can come, will inform us. We get them to call Aqua, who does the work order. They go in and they shut the valve off. We charge them $20. When they come back, then we just charge them $20. But at that time, while they're gone, there is no revenue coming in because they've shut it off. We have never had anything in place. But though we've budgeted to have that home for the full 12 months of service being used, and we're not.
I was under the impression that in the water system, though, we had, if you shut it off, you would still be charged up to the next bill and shut off. Okay, so we need to come up with something like that.
Right.
For sure, yeah.
That's right. Councillor Olmsted?
But at this time, there's actually nothing shut off, right?
For sewer, no.
Just water.
Right, and so as we are trying to operate more or less a revenue neutral system, I think it's incumbent again that everybody shares in the cost of this. There's no way that the rest of the town should be paying for somebody else's service. So I know it's difficult, but we need checks and balances to ensure that that service is being billed again when these people come back. So I agree with Councillor McLaughlin that 3 months maybe is the minimum time period that it's shut off.
And typically they wouldn't cancel the sewer without shutting off the water. So technically if the water is shut off, there is no sewer to be used because they can't turn on the tap. There's nothing going out. But I agree, 3 months. Is that a consensus of council? Minimum. Councillor McLaughlin? No, you were agreeing? Yep. Okay. So you have that direction to come up with that new rate
Yes.
when we pass the bylaw?
Okay.
Is there any other questions with regards to the sewer budget? Councillor Olmsted?
What was the total increase that we had to pass on last year?
35%.
35. So this is another bitter pill to swallow, of course. You're talking,
Yes.
47% increase
Yes.
in the course of 2 years.
Yes.
That's an awful bitter pill for the residents to swallow.
It is. Now, don't want to be a broken record, but just remember that there's reasons why that had to be increased that way, to be cost effective, that there had been many years without a rate increase. So, yes, we are playing the catch-up game, and we did last year. But then due to the fact that we did have some unexpected expenses, lost revenue, it just all plays. Unfortunately, this is the way it played out, and I couldn't get any lower than 12.5. And really, the only big ticket item that we had sat down, like Steve and I sat down and discussed, was the generator for the lift station. And actually, I like to present that. We do need it, and it's a cost of about $50,000, but not pay for it this year. So we're going to pay for it. I suggest to pay for it in 2017-2018 year, so that we'll have that project paid off. By next year, we're hoping to have the Cast in Place project paid off, and then we'll get into the debenture of the new sewer plant. So I'm trying to make it.
And then you're going to see the rates increase
Yes.
again. I think unfortunately, the sewer rates and water rates are going to continue to increase each year because of the number of users, because of what needs to be done on two aged plants. I don't see it going down. I would hope that we get more development so that we can share the cost. The more users you have, the less you'll have to pay. So hopefully the developments that are in play now will continue to be in play, and we actually see some more development.
And,
Mayor
sorry.
Johnson and then Councillor Olmsted.
Catherine Wynne, our premier, announced that small community funding was going to improve very much in 2016. So maybe we can get the generator paid for by Catherine. Hope is our best hope at our. We got to start applying for just buying for grants again. They did open the purse strings, and I think we better be very, very adamant about this, applying for grants.
Councillor Olmsted.
I think the only way out of this cycle that we're in is pronounced growth and development. That, as the chair says, that we can all share on the costs. Right now, I think there's about 400 some odd hookups. 421 hookups, and I think if we had 521, the bills would still be the same, the infrastructure cost the same, but we'd all be sharing. So I think that's the only way to get out of this steep increase cycle. Is there any way we can see where we land versus other communities, maybe LV and Renfrew, and on what the sewer charges are on an annual basis, again, just to benchmark ourselves?
I didn't go through annual. Well, I have some of them annual, and I pulled up Pembroke, and I don't know why, but I could not find for the life of me the 2015, but I did find the 2014, and their rate is $155.95 in 2014. So, and we were 2015 is 69. So we're not that far off, but they have more users, I'm sure, than we do. We pulled up, actually Steve did a little bit of research too. A lot of them are metered, so it was really hard to find, and our meter rate is a lot lower than most municipalities around. Again, even for example, Eganville has a capital cost recovery, and they have a set charge of $18 that goes on their bills. So so kind of like what we're suggesting. Who was it? Barry's Bay has, for their sewer, a minimum quarterly wastewater sewer discharge fee of $73.88 applies to all users. That's regardless of the wastewater amount being discharged. So they have minimum fees, you know, but it was really hard to find other municipalities that just have, like us, have flat rates. And we only have 3 users that are on the metered. And our meter rates are actually quite low compared to the other municipalities. So even if I do increase that at 12.8%, we're still a lot less. So.
Yeah, and Laurentian Valley is based for sewer, is based on assessment.
Yes.
So it's totally, like, you can't even compare.
Totally different, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
Just, if I may, pertaining to the Ogra Roma conference we were at this week, now probably a good time to say what we did.
Absolutely.
So, we did meet with 3 different ministers, and one of the ministers was the Minister of Economic Development and Infrastructure, and we give about a 12-minute presentation, and we showed in our region that we have tons of opportunity for growth and development, but at the same time we have these big gaps that are roadblocks in our way with current infrastructure that's preventing us from actually getting all the way to that sustained growth and development. And to what the mayor was saying, they advised us that there'll be some significant funding coming out this year, and that we should apply for a number of, I think they were talking about double the funding from last year, I believe. So there may be opportunity for us to apply for some of that.
Have we ever applied for Trans-Canada Pipeline grants? They have grants, and we've been very successful. Yep, there's grants everywhere.
Charlene, would the Trans-Canada Pipeline, is it geared, would it be geared towards sewer?
It's geared
for
toward a
anything?
lot of things.
Okay.
Steve?
I tried to get funding for a generator twice and was denied, so maybe Hope should fill out the application next time. Do it.
Are you saying that they've just don't like you? You can't have that attitude that they don't like you. There also is a lot more funding, as Councillor Olmsted said, that and the minister did encourage us to apply. We'll get a lot more, and again, this will come out a lot of shovel ready, and we have some projects that we have already put on the shelf shovel ready, so we'll just tear right into that, see if they're telling us the truth.
Okay, so next steps for us?
Next step is we're gonna, if you want to look at this budget over again, send me emails if you have any questions or concerns that I can make changes to. If I don't hear anything, I'm assuming it's okay, and we're gonna work on the water one the next time. I'll talk to Christine when she comes back, and I think we're getting, not that we're not getting, but I think maybe if we could schedule kind of like an afternoon meeting with just doing budget. I know, but if we could do that at some point, that might come out to council to see if everybody would be available to do that.
Depends on the date.
Okay. So does anybody have any other questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll take a little break, a 5-minute break.